Anywho, so Daniel, you attended a marathon this weekend.
I did attend a marathon this weekend, and I had to wake up pretty early in the morning to do it.
You sure did.
Extremely early, I would say.
Yep. And then you had to wait around for a really freaking long time.
Yeah, longer than you would have liked.
Someone was extra slow.
It wasn't me.
No, but you had an opportunity to use your S1R Mark II.
I did. Yep. Got to test it out a little bit. I felt like in, when did I get that camera? I've had it about a week, I guess. I feel like my first week with the S1R Mark II, I've used it substantially more than I used the S1 II when I got it. Because remember, it was like a really long time before I actually used the S1 II.
Yep.
I've been quite a bit with the S1R Mark II.
You have both of these on the table in front of us.
I do.
I still kind of like the S1R2 more. I don't know why. It looks exactly the same. I'm drawn to the more megapixels. I don't know.
You just like the R.
I like the R in it. And it's got the 40. What is this? The 45 lens? 45 2.8.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a nice little lens. This is one of those contemporary lenses, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've thought about selling it because I got that lens for the S9, but it's a little smaller than my 51.8, but not by a lot.
Okay.
And the other reason is
it probably doesn't make a huge difference on this camera.
No. And I mean, I have the GR4 now. So I feel like if I need real portability, I'm going to use that. But I don't know. I may just keep it because it is a good lens. It takes. I like the photos I get from it.
Well, why'd you take that one instead of the 50?
Well, mostly, it is slightly smaller, and I think that lens has like a little bit more character at 2.8 specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you do f4 or beyond, it's super sharp. At 2.8, I think it has a little bit of character, and I thought that might be fun to try. So,
I mean, the photos you took all looked really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very happy with the pictures from it. I mean, I feel like you can really tell the extra resolution. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've used 24, 26 megapixel cameras for a long time now. And the biggest thing I notice is if you try and take, a wide shot and then crop in, you really can't go very far before you have a noticeable loss in detail, which is sometimes a problem because sometimes you're in a situation where it's I have a 50 on my camera right now and I want to take this shot and really I know I'm going to want to crop in, but that's just the lens I have. So that's what I'm going to use. And on the S1R Mark II, I do feel like I kind of have, some ability to crop and the resulting picture is still sharp. Whereas even on the S1 II, you really can't crop much before you can tell that you cropped.
Yeah, once you get past 16 to 20 megapixels, and I feel like you can start telling.
Yeah.
It's the iPhone thing where it's oh, look at this great picture. And it's 12 megapixels and you pull it up on a big screen. And you're you definitely don't want to really crop too much into it. Going from, if 22, 23, 24, 26, you can maybe crop 20% and that's maybe about it. Having even the XT5 at 40 megapixels, it was a pretty good jump. It feels like I can even do a 50% crop and not really feel too bad about it. And I guess that's the same with the 44. Does this have that feature where you can do different punch-ins and shoot JPEGs?
Yeah, it has the crop zoom and the hybrid zoom.
Yeah.
I haven't messed with it yet, but it does have that feature. I think all the new Lumix stuff does.
That's one of the ones where on XT5, I feel real confident about using the 1.4 teleconverter, digital teleconverter, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
Where if I have my 23 or whatever, I have no problem, especially if I'm just shooting JPEGs. I'll just do I have the front button map pap to it, and you can just cycle through 1x, 1.4, and 2. 2 is 16 megapixels, which is a little closer than I would want. But the 1.4 is fine. It's effectively getting the pictures that I got out of my XT3 for years and years and years, but just kind of already cropped in and framed. So if I'm not really wanting to deal with a huge raw post workflow and I'm just shooting JPEGs, I'm real happy to cycle between 1 and 1x, and it's having two lenses.
I think it's a good idea.
I mean, that's one of those selling points of the the Q3 and some of those other 60 megapixel cameras.
Yeah, and for this,
I guess the GFX 100 RF.
If I was going to this marathon in a paid capacity or something, I'm going to shoot photos, of course I would have brought the 70 to 200. But I knew I was going to be walking miles, and I didn't want to carry that lens around because a full frame 70-200 is really, really heavy. And so I just brought the 45 and the 85 primes, and it worked out great, especially because I knew I'd be able to crop a little bit and still, I could adjust my framing a little bit that way without getting a bad picture.
Have you seen the pro photographers at these events, Daniel?
A little bit.
Do you know what? Man, I would. I don't know if I'd want to do it.
Why do you say that?
One, I don't know if they're using autofocus or zone focusing. I feel like they have to be zone focusing.
Yeah, surely.
But they put them up maybe like in the middle of the course or on the side of a course in a bunch of locations.
Saw a couple of them. Yeah.
And they're sitting there with some sort of telezoom, like a 7200 or something, and they are burst shooting like crazy. And
I just want to know what the workflow looks like
after that. It's just spray and pray, right? I think that they literally just dump the photos.
Yeah.
I think that they're shooting JPEG burst, and they are taking a picture of every runner that they can for the duration of the thing. So they're sitting there for freaking like 7 hours just burst shooting the crap out of that camera.
Man, AI is going to take that job for sure.
I'm just saying, those Google Clips cameras would be perfect for this.
There you go. And let's put those everywhere.
They got to burn through so many batteries.
Yeah.
And that's got to be exhausting.
I bet, that's got to be a situation. Well, I should have looked while I was there, but I bet they're not burning through batteries. I bet they have a dummy battery hooked up to like a Jackery or something.
Oh, yeah, certainly. And they're pretty stationary and they're just kind of snapping the pics. And I'm sure they run shifts, like hour shifts or something. There's no way they're sitting there for 3 or 4 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
But boy, that's got to be rough on the camera, the shutter counts, and the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what they do is they take all the photos, they dump them, and then they use like image recognition tech.
Yeah, to get the bib numbers.
Yeah, because it takes a while. Like you get those finisher pics emails, and they're like, "Hey, your pictures are incoming." You may have like 1 or 2, and then a couple of days later, you may have like 4 or 5, because it's slowly like finding you in the background of all of the photos. But it starts with like the easy ones where I can see the bib number, I can see your face.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Saw a couple of other interesting camera things while I was doing that, though.
Oh yeah.
So I saw like the people that were in front, like the first like 5 runners or whatever. And in front of them there was a truck driving, and there was a guy in the back of the truck with one of those like Movi Pro or something, like one of those big gimbals, that has like the octagon handle thing. And so he was filming, basically like right in front of them. And then right behind them, there was a car with one of those big camera cranes on it. And they were, it was kind of like going up and down and getting like a cinematic type thing chasing behind them. So that was really cool.
We're like live streaming those elite runners who are.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So live stream? That's cool.
Yeah. You can like go watch it online or whatever.
Wow.
You should go watch the replay.
So. It was neat to see. And then, definitely saw some people with like rigged out cameras and stuff. I saw a guy that had like a regular mirrorless camera, and then he also had the Camp Snap video camera, the one that looks like a Super 8. Just like, he was just kind of like casually had it at his side. I really wonder what he was filming on that thing.
That's super fun.
I don't know. It was neat.
Yeah, you see some cool cameras at these things.
Yeah.
Whenever I did the shakeout run on Friday, and that one is sponsored by a few different people. One of them is BPN, and I don't know. Do you know who Nick Barr is, or Nick Bear?
No,
I think it's Barr.
None of this sounds familiar.
He's one of those like, influencers, but he also has a nutrition company, and he's really into Austin and the Austin Marathon, and like the BPN is the official like goo people, and they do their It's this whole thing. But you can like follow him on YouTube and stuff, and he's like an influencer, and he basically has a film crew that follows him around and records all his workouts. And so I've been to the shakeout run this year and last year, and you go because you get a free hat, Daniel.
Obviously,
it's very exciting. I liked the hat last year more than this year, because last year was a 5-panel hat and this year was more like a ball cap. That's neither here nor there. But they always have their like Tesla or Porsche or whatever that has like the gimbal rig on it, and they have a bunch of dudes who have like their FX whatever's on gimbals, or FX6s and FX3s, and there's so many people with cameras and gear that are just like shooting videos of Nick,
man,
just like the whole time.
Imagine if that was your life.
And then they go on the run with you, and they're like running around with all this camera gear. Some of them are on like boosted boards. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
You're mostly just there to see the cameras.
The camera crew for the fitness YouTubers is like those pacers for like elite marathoners.
Yeah.
Like I subscribe to this what is her name? Philly Bo something. Was another one of those running YouTubers. Daniel, I have a real problem. And she ran a marathon, and she had somebody who paced her to like a 2:20 or a 2:25 marathon, like 2 hours and 25 minutes. And I'm like, that's like, it's ridiculous.
Like the pacer is an elite runner.
Like you have to be so good to be pacing somebody at that speed.
Yeah,
because that's like she finished in the top 10, and it's like, and there was a person that was pacing her.
Yeah,
it's like. The pacer could like, why is the pacer just like winning the race? This is ridiculous. It's like that, but with camera gear.
Yep. Well, I mean, it kind of is because it's like, he's running and then there's somebody running with like an FX6 next to him.
Yep. Right.
It's like, who's the real athlete?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Oh man.
But I think the marathon went okay. I got hit with allergies and stuff a few days before, and so I was like a little under the weather. I was like a little undertrained, and so I was slower than last year.
You had some stuff come up to where you probably got a little less sleep the night before than you had really planned.
Yeah, a little bit. But also, like, I never sleep the night before these races is what I've learned. I always get like 4 hours of sleep the night before. But what I've learned is that you guys should get really good sleep the night before, because you can mostly get by with one bad night of sleep.
Yeah.
If you have like a bunch, it's a problem.
Didn't you get like 11 hours of sleep?
Dude, I worked late and didn't sleep well on like Thursday night. So Friday night, I was like, I'm just sleeping. Like, that's my plan. I slept 11 and a half hours.
Man, I can't remember the last time I slept that long.
Man, I felt so good. I was like, yeah.
Maybe you ought to try that like once every 2 weeks,
Sure.
I went through a time in my life where that's kind of how it worked. Like, I wasn't getting much sleep. And then every now and then it would catch up with me and I would sleep a ton, and then it would kind of like recharge me and I'd be able to do my, late nights for a long time after that.
I had to do a research paper as like a means of like learning how to do and cite sources for English 1302. And it was on sleep debt.
Oh, really?
And I don't remember if the conclusion.
How many all-nighters you pulled doing that paper?
That's funny. And there's people like yes and people like no, but to some extent it seemed like at the time that sleep debt is mostly a thing, and to like
it feels like it is. I mean, intuitively it seems like it works that way.
It's not like forever, right? You're not going to be picking up paying off sleep debt from 10 years ago.
Like, oh man, I'm still trying to recover from college.
Yeah, exactly. What do you mean, like over the course of a week? I mean, if you're not getting full night's rest, like, you make it to the end of the week, and you kind of have to pay that up.
I think so. So I'm also it's like you banked sleep 2 nights before so that you kind of were able to power through.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the idea. So it worked out pretty good.
Nice.
Other than the fact that the marathon didn't work out pretty good. Things that
you did it. You finished.
The things that did work out good is I got the belt buckle, and that's what matters. And I applied enough. I had thick socks, and I applied enough Body Glide that I didn't get any chafing.
That's good.
And the only thing I'm dealing with is sore muscles.
How did your nutrition aspects go? Because I know that's been a struggle for you in some of your previous events.
Terrible.
Really?
I couldn't.
You had a ginger snap strategy.
I did. I only made it through 4 of the ginger snaps, so that didn't work out as good as I thought it was going to. For certain reasons, I couldn't quite get through all my food on Saturday night, so I didn't carb load enough, and then I couldn't eat any of the carbs in the morning either. So I got halfway through my peanut butter tortilla, I didn't eat my taco, so I basically had a protein shake, and then it was a protein shake, half a peanut butter tortilla, which if people don't know, you take a tortilla, put peanut butter in it, and that's not too bad. It's like a sweet little treat.
I think they might have been able to figure that out from the name.
Hey, look. It may not be a common thing outside of Texas, but, in the land where tortillas are plentiful.
Yep.
Flour. Corn tortilla would be weird.
Yeah. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, flour is close enough to like flat bread, right?
Yeah.
It's like anyways, whatever.
Maybe
I'm the weird one.
Are you like rolling this up, or how are you actually eating?
It's like folded in half like a taco.
Like a taco.
Yeah.
Peanut butter taco.
Pretty much. So sometimes you put chocolate chips in there.
There you go.
That's not too bad. That's not too bad either.
That sounds pretty good.
Hey, it's all right.
Yep. Especially if you're about to run a marathon.
Anyway, the point is, I didn't have enough solid food in me.
Yeah.
Going into this, that was kind of a problem. And then, man, I could not really settle my stomach through the whole run. So it wasn't great.
I got through. You need to get that figured out, because I know like when you did your Ironman, you kind of had similar issues.
I got through almost all the nutrition I planned. So like I didn't like get gassed by the end. I had enough juice to get through it. But what I've concluded is I'm not running another marathon until I can run it in less than 4 hours. Like once you hit, like people who are running like 2, 3, 4 hours, they're taking less steps. Like they're taking more bigger steps, and they are, they're pushing. Yeah. But it's less time on your feet, and it's less total impacts on your feet.
I would think that the time is just the main thing, because it's like you just think about how long you're exerting yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that they're pushing harder, in some sense than you are, but at the same time, like, it just seems like after a point, you're just exerting yourself for so long that it just wears you out.
It's just more of a beating. And I think that, pushing, over 5 hours is like, it's too much. And like those last, 2 miles, they just hurt too much.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to run another marathon until I can get under 4. So
you have to work on the speed a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to spend the rest of this year just doing speed training and try to get.
Man, make everything easier, right? Because then next time you want to train for one, you your training runs won't take as long.
Yeah, I think it's really important as far as like the scalability, right? Just build more volume and all this stuff. I need to get my 10K. That's my first goal, right? Between now and June, if I can get my 10K down to like 50 minutes, then from there I can move to trying to apply that over a half marathon distance, and then get my half marathon down to like 150, 155.
Yeah.
I think that'll be my goal. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll see where that goes.
Well, I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, me too.
What happens now? You taking some time off from training, or are you just like getting right back out there and running again? Like, when do you think you'll run again?
Saturday, probably.
Yeah. So you're not really taking much time off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna like easy, right? I don't want to like lose fitness, but I also need my body to recover. So, but I don't know what I'm gonna sign up for next. There has been rumors of running another half Ironman in June, but I think I've settled on just not doing that. So
yeah,
we'll see. I could still sign up for the New York City Marathon, but I don't think I'd get to sub 4 by November.
Yeah, that'd be really ambitious, I think.
It would be pushing it. Yeah. It's a lot of time to shave off.
A lot of time to shave off.
Yeah. Well, that's it, Daniel. I got nothing else.
Welcome back to the Camera Gear Podcast. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Lucas.
And we're here today to talk about the gear, software, and techniques we use to shoot photos and video.
So is this when I'm supposed to start my clock?
I guess so.
Right?
I don't know. We're pretty deep into this recording.
1 hour from now, right? Is that how that works?
The show ends when the show ends, is what I'd say.
All right. Well, Daniel, I don't want to lose this last half of it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. Boy, woo. Whew. Do we even have time to talk about your new rig today?
I don't know, man. I'm kind of thinking we should push that.
Okay, let's push the. I want more on the Lumix S1R2 and on your new rig, because those are very exciting. But
I need to shoot some video on the S1R2. That's kind of what I'm curious to see, is how that, like, if it matches well with the S1 II.
Yeah, so let's scooch that out a little bit.
Sounds good.
I was watching some of like Cine D, and have you seen Northwest Camera Company's videos on YouTube?
Maybe in passing.
They have a pretty interesting one on the Pixis 12K you should check out, Daniel. Okay. Came out 3 days ago.
I'll check that out.
But I was catching up on the GFX Eterna.
Yeah, I saw Cine D got one and like did a little documentary on it and stuff.
There is quite a bit to talk about there, Daniel. But that's also for next week. Okay. I don't know why we're just teasing so much.
Gosh. By the way, I saw Cine D is going to retest the Blackmagic Pixis 12K.
Okay.
So they were kind of going back and forth on it, and they said basically once they can get one that they're positive has been fixed with the fixes, they're going to retest it and see what happens. So.
Look, I watched that video on the Pixis 12K yesterday, and I'm just reinvigorated. Best camera of the year 2024.
Well, I still want to test one. I'm hoping we'll get to that in the next couple months maybe.
Yes. So Nikon is suing Viltrox.
Wait, what?
This feels I don't know, because like Red sued Nikon. Do you think Nikon would be like, I know how that feels now?
Maybe whenever Nikon acquired Red, they also acquired Red's lawyers.
So does that mean
just got some guy there that's like, let's sue him?
Does that mean Viltrox is going to buy Nikon?
Oh man, can you imagine? That'd be wild. That'd come out of nowhere.
There's no way. Viltrox is not that big.
No.
You heard it here first. Rumor is that Viltrox is going to buy Nikon.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Anyway, what happened here? Why are they suing?
So one,
Viltrox?
rumors, but people have reached out and said, hey, Nikon, it looks like, according to some of these filing paperworks, that you're taking legal action against Viltrox. And Nikon is not confirming or denying that they're taking legal action against Viltrox.
Oh, it sounds like they are.
But it seems to be the case that Viltrox has been making Z-mount lenses without Nikon's permission.
Oh.
And so any of these Z-mount autofocus Viltrox lenses that are out there, not kosher.
Huh. That's I think like you always wonder about that kind of thing happening, like RF mount being an example, like what if somebody just, reverse engineered it and made a lens, and that's always kind of the threat, right? Is that, well, the company could sue you for it. And I don't know how long Viltrox has been making their Z-mount lenses, but it kind of seems like they took a risk if they were doing that without getting actual permission. So I wonder if they think they have legs to stand on with that, or if they were just kind of hoping they can get away with it.
I'm scrolling through here, and 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There's quite a few Z-mount Viltrox lenses.
Those numbers,
plus teleconverters.
those numbers you were reading off, I assume that's like a count of lenses and not like millimeters of lenses.
Correct.
Yeah. I figured they didn't have a 13 and a 14 millimeter lens. So that's a lot of lenses.
They offer over 25,
whoa,
according to this AI overview, so that I don't have to actually go count them. Z-mount. Oh, here we go. For Viltrox's website, 26 Z-mount lenses.
That's a lot, man. That's to do all that without permission.
And according to Viltrox, after this news broke, they have said that they are not changing their lens roadmap.
Wow. They're staying the course.
Yeah. So we'll just kind of see where this shakes out. I mean, it seems like there's a few options here. Nikon says, hey, just pay us some licensing fees.
Well, because, other companies make Z-mount lenses, right? Like Tamron.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but not Sigma.
Yeah, which is interesting. But, so it's not like nobody, it's not like RF mount, like there are other people making these lenses. So,
but it seems that, up to this point, we've been giving Canon a real hard time about how they got this closed down mount. And it's like, well, Nikon's letting Viltrox and Tamron, and not Sigma for some, Tamron related reason, but all these other companies are making Nikon lenses. How come Canon can't be more like Nikon?
Yep.
Turns out, how come Nikon can't be more like Canon?
Viltrox awoken the sleeping giant of Nikon legal.
Seems to be the case. So this could end with Viltrox having to just pay a bunch of money. Here's a licensing fee per lens or whatever. They may have to cease and desist on all of those lenses. Or, Viltrox is in China. Nikon is in Japan.
Yeah, Viltrox could just ignore it.
They could just be like, whatever. We just won't sell our lenses in Japan. And they just don't do anything. And if that happens, maybe they sue them in other jurisdictions. Maybe Nikon pushes an update that breaks Viltrox lenses on their cameras.
Imagine if that happened to all the existing ones. That would be painful.
With how this is, it makes it hard to want to buy more Viltrox lenses as for a Nikon shooter.
Until they resolve this. Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be like, well, am I going to spend $600 on this 56 millimeter 1.2 and find out that for my ZFC it's going to break in 6 months because
that's
whatever.
A big risk.
I guess like if it works now, you don't have to upgrade your firmware.
Yeah, but what if you want whatever new features? What if you get a new Nikon camera? What if you buy a Z9 Mark II?
Sure, it could be that it doesn't work on any future cameras, which could be a bit of a problem. At no point you sell the lenses whenever you go to sell the camera, but then the lenses are worthless.
Yeah.
Right? Who are you going to sell them to?
Huh. Man, that's rough.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough situation. So Nikon really wanting to make sure that they're recouping the money for their mount for their cameras.
Apparently.
And, this is probably coming on the heels of how Nikon had a pretty bad first quarter.
I saw that. They their profits were not great.
It was abysmal? Is that the word, Daniel?
It was pretty bad. I don't think they were the only ones. I think Panasonic also didn't have great results recently. Fuji, on the other hand, had really great results.
They sure did.
Yeah.
Because Fuji just prints money on Instax paper.
Yes.
Just pictures of money that they then take to the bank where they accept it
Apparently.
for some weird reason.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this looks vintage. It's probably worth more money.
Oh my gosh. Other Viltrox news, I think so they joined the L mount alliance a while back. So like I guess they can legitimately make L mount lenses. And I don't remember if it was that I think it's that they did announce a 16 millimeter prime for L mount. So they're getting in the L mount game.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
L mount. The best thing L mount has going forward is the lenses.
Yeah.
They just need cameras.
Yeah, just need cameras. If only they had some.
Just got a couple.
Yep.
Man. According to this thing that I'm reading, which who knows, their revenue was down $183 million year over year for the first 3 quarters.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's like so much money, man. So, I mean, but they did buy freaking, Red. So maybe Red will scoop them out. There's like the cameras that they've been releasing, say the ZR, sure seems like they're selling it at a loss.
Yeah.
And like the Z6 II, they cut whatever, like $600 off that price or something. It was like 26 or 28 when it launched. Now it's 22. They've been slashing prices and trying to sell cameras like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this all kind of connects, right? They're making their money off their lenses, but if Viltrox is swooping in and taking all the lens sales, they're not going anywhere.
That could be why they're suddenly suing them after them having released 26 lenses. Too.
Yeah, suddenly. So, where do you think this goes? What do you think the best solution is?
Well, I mean, I think that like it's kind of bad for a Nikon shooter if they already have Viltrox lenses and those lenses break. So I feel like they wouldn't do that. But I mean, my guess is I think it helps Nikon to have this as long as they're getting their cut. So I would think they'd be pushing to get some type of licensing fee or something. And I mean, it seems like Viltrox would just have to pay up. Like, I don't know.
I would assume that Viltrox has to pay up, but I wonder if part of that deal would be if Nikon has to approve Viltrox's lens roadmap.
Interesting. I wonder. Yeah, I don't know what those deals look like between any lens manufacturer and any mount owner.
It sure seems to me that if you're a third-party manufacturer for the modern mirrorless world, it's not like a free-for-all that was, in the DSLR days. It seems like you kind of have to be above board on what you're making with those manufacturers, or they're just going to shut it down.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to break things with firmware. So yeah, you kind of don't have a choice.
So to me, it seems like maybe the lens roadmap thing is probably the bigger deal than the licensing money. I mean, I don't know. I'm not Viltrox. So? I mean, if it's, 40 billion yen or something silly, like sure, yeah, maybe, who cares about the lens roadmap? But if you're in Viltrox, I mean, they make lenses like crazy.
Yeah.
But if you're making a lens and it's like, I can make this, if I make it, I can put it on Z and L and XF or whatever. Do I want to still pursue making it if I can't make it for Z?
Yeah, it cuts down their market by quite a bit.
Yeah, it's like
and if they have to pay a licensing fee, that's going to cut into their profit.
Right. So how much does it impact the other mounts, and how much more expensive do these lenses get?
Yeah.
Do all the existing Viltrox lenses go up $200 or something?
Yeah, and it could be bad for us. I mean, we both use that Viltrox 75 1.2. It's a great lens. I think Viltrox generally makes good stuff.
Yeah, so. those red badge Viltrox lenses, the 13 1.4 and the 75 1.2 are phenomenal on Fuji. Like first class lenses. Very, very good.
Yeah, and they were affordable too.
Yeah, definitely. So I want Viltrox has really made headway as with brand reputation and quality of products.
I think so too.
And you want to see them keep doing stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
What if Viltrox made an L mount camera, Daniel?
It'd be wild. I don't know if I would actually be interested in that, but
I've been doing some deep dive on camera sensor technology.
Yes, you have.
And I'm surprised that anyone knows how to make a camera.
Yeah, it's a pretty in-depth engineering required to make all that work.
Woof. That's all I'm saying. Anyway. So
this is why Fovion's taking so long for
Yeah, geez. Man. I'm not blaming them now. It's ridiculous. All right. Well, more camera news, Daniel.
Okay.
This isn't really like news, but IMAX came out with a new camera.
I think it's kind of. I mean, it's kind of significant. Not like there's that many IMAX cameras out there.
No. So let me see. I have it written down somewhere in here. Okay. This new camera, I believe that there are 12
Total 12 cameras
for use on productions, and they cost about $500,000 each.
So it's a $6 million worth of cameras.
And you just borrow, rent, use them for your production, and then you give them back.
Yeah, you can't buy one.
You don't buy this camera.
Do you think Christopher Nolan could buy an IMAX camera if he wanted to? I feel like he could.
They probably just let him use them for free.
That's probably true.
Speaking of, the reason we know that this is a new IMAX camera is because we're getting close to the release of Christopher Nolan's movie, The Odyssey. And so the hype cycle has started.
Yes.
That's not true. The hype cycle started way last year, like in June with like the trailers and stuff. But it's starting to ramp up, right?
Yeah.
For summer because the Odyssey movie's coming. And so they released some interviews and conversations about this new camera. And it's like, hey, here's this new IMAX camera. And the entire Odyssey movie has been shot on this camera. Which
is unusual. Usually IMAX is just used for like certain big scenes, right?
Exactly. And we'll talk about that. But my question is, if we're just hearing about the camera now, but it was available last year for a movie to be shot on, is it a contestant for Camera of the Year 2026? for the film camera category?
It's not, because one of the criteria for Camera of the Year is that it must be buyable in that year.
They're just $500,000.
So I don't think you couldn't buy it. They won't sell you one.
So if you couldn't buy it last year, but you can buy it.
You can't buy it this year. They won't sell you one. They only have 12 and you rent it. Doesn't count.
They got to sell it to somebody,
you
right?
Think so?
So somebody, if somebody can buy it, then can I put it on the list for the film camera category for 2026 Camera of the Year?
I guess so.
Oh,
sure.
Boy. I mean, because now it's like the analog AF1 IMAX 65 millimeter camera, and then the MCA Lomo.
Yeah,
we're
got some good contenders already, and we're only in February.
Exactly. Film Camera of the Year is starting to really shape up for 2026. So here's the deal with this camera. It's 30% quieter.
Which is saying a lot because IMAX cameras are not quiet.
Right. An IMAX camera is 65 millimeter 15 perf film. Just like really tall, 70 millimeter. Just freaking huge. And it is so loud. And so what they've done is they've built this large acoustic housing and a new loader to make it 30% quieter. And so the acoustic housing is like kind of optional. So if you're outside and you're not recording, like intense dialogue scenes, you maybe don't use the acoustic housing. And maybe you could and this is something we'll talk about in a second, but maybe you put it on a gimbal and you do like a helicopter shot or something.
Okay.
But if you need to use the acoustic housing, it's like this enormous, unwieldy, giant thing that has to be on like a tripod.
Big insulated box or something.
Or maybe not a tripod, but like scaffolding or something. Yeah. It's enormous. But it makes it 30% quieter. And because of that, they have been... So like for Oppenheimer, they couldn't shoot any of the indoor scenes on IMAX. Because they just woof.
And it made it kind of weird watching it, right? Because like the aspect ratio kept changing and stuff.
Yeah, we just jump between. I'm like, I don't know why.
But it was just so loud that they could never use like indoor dialogue from it.
Well, it's like just crop for the non-IMAX stuff, crop the sides and make it taller. I bet no one will notice the difference.
Yep.
But if they did that, then people would be like, I can't tell the difference, and then they wouldn't believe in IMAX. We need the people to believe in IMAX, Daniel.
Yep.
So for the Odyssey is the first full feature-length film to be shot completely on IMAX. It's never been done before.
That's pretty surprising that it hasn't been done.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like pretty cool. Sinners, I remember Sinners had a bunch of IMAX stuff. And that one was the most jarring. Where it was like jumping between 70 millimeter and there's like, I don't know, we just felt like using it here. Terrible.
It seems like a pretty big improvement if you can shoot an entire movie on it now.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's the acoustic housing. The other thing that they did is they made the body out of carbon fiber composite.
Oh.
So previously it was like aluminum or something. Now it's like way, way lighter. So previously you weren't really doing a lot of like too much like handheld stuff or gimbal stuff because it was so stinking heavy.
Sure.
The other reason that you weren't doing a bunch of that stuff was viewfinder. So the previous iteration of the IMAX camera has like a sensor situation on it that would run to like a 1080p monitor so that you could digitally view the image that you're shooting on film.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it has like SDI output or whatever. But it was so poor quality that like the cinematographer that Christopher Nolan typically works with, he would just not use it. He would always use the eyepiece because like the OVF was way, way better to do framing, like figure out like, what's sharp and all this stuff. So the electronic viewfinder thing being less usable made mounting options more difficult. You can't,
because you needed to be able to get to the eyepiece.
You can't put it on a Steadicam if you have to use an eyepiece, right? You can't like mount it in a helicopter or something if you have to use an eyepiece.
You'd need a lot of mirrors.
Yeah, you'd have to use like slides and rollers and like it's a whole thing. So this one has a 4K quality, higher resolution, better viewfinder thing.
Like a 4K sensor or something that feeds to a monitor.
It has like 3 SDI outputs or whatever.
Cool.
And so they can like feed it out to a bunch of monitors and like do different configurations. And it's this time totally usable. Which
that sounds like maybe the biggest improvement.
Oh, it's huge. It unlocks a lot of new workflows. So it's like slap it in this housing over here if you want it to be quiet for your dialogue scenes, or take it out of that housing and now it's way, way lighter. And you can like rig it up and use monitors and actually like, do a lot of cool things that you could do with digital cameras that you haven't been able to do with IMAX before, but now you can do it with IMAX.
That's cool. I mean, it sounds like a massive leap forward, and it's just like these cameras are so niche and get updated so rarely that they're able to do like all of that in one release. Yeah,
it's really, really cool. And they added a digital screen to the side of it, so you can see like your real-time readout and how many feet of film you have and your exposure. And it's just like better user interface and feedback for the camera. Like it's just this huge, huge upgrade. And like the monitor itself has like frame guides on it, so you can see like what is the full IMAX, what's the 70mm crop, so you know like where your framing needs to be if you're going to need to do any cropping to align with like other film types and framing, and it's all just like really, really cool.
Yeah, sounds like it.
You can do like I think they said you can do like camera to cloud stuff, which like
of course
like you're feeding off of this thing and you can like do your dailies or whatever, and so you can start kind of finding the right footage before it gets developed, and it just makes the workflow like way, way, way better. And they named this after David Keeley, who was passed last year, and he was like the first chief quality officer of IMAX.
Oh.
So he's like this big IMAX dude.
Big IMAX dude.
He oversaw the post-production of like 500 IMAX films. He's like a real big IMAX guy.
Okay.
Passed away last year. And so this is the Keeley update for the IMAX camera.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice that they named it after him. That was cool.
I mean, it sounds pretty massive.
Yeah. But it's because IMAX. It's just huge.
Yeah. Everything about it's big.
Everything about it's big. The price tag, the camera, the acoustic housing. But you don't see a lot of updates to these kind of cameras very often.
Yeah.
I don't know when the last time they did a huge, reno on the IMAX camera, but
and it's something that like is probably actually going to make a difference in the types of movies you see shot with it, which is not the case for most camera updates.
I think this is all really, really cool. I want to take like 2 steps back and maybe get your thoughts on like the concept of IMAX as a brand. And like what I mean is, we talk about shooting film a lot. Love film. All great. And in film for movies, it's like Super 35 for a long time, different perf formats for different film types, whether you're shooting Super 35 or 35mm. And I mean, it's all still 35, but it's like, are you shooting it sideways or long ways? And like, how many perfs for the audio and blah, 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 blah. And when are you shooting 65mm and all this sort of stuff? And that's all cool. The IMAX concept is like this camera company came in with their own film format and their own cameras with the concept of like the film image is so huge that the equivalent resolution that you're getting off of this is unmatched by any sort of digital sensor or any sort of film sensor, and this is the highest quality that you can have.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think it's to the point where that's imperceptible. Like I've watched movies like projected on 70 millimeter IMAX film, right? I can't tell the difference. I don't know. It's like, it's really good and it looks great and the grain and all that stuff. And it is a really cool look. But to a certain extent, I don't know how much better it is than like a Venice.
For like a massive increase in equipment cost and like things you have to deal with and all that.
And I don't know if this is like a hot take or ignorance or what, but I don't know how much of the IMAX thing is like, I think whenever it was just film and we're only talking about film, yeah, IMAX, like that's like the pinnacle. But in this like digital / film era, I don't know if like it seems like IMAX is just, it's more of a brand and a cachet than anything where they're like, you have to work with us and we're going to provide quality control on your film to make sure that you're getting the best quality. And like anything that has the IMAX branding is like the top of the line because they are like in it with you making this thing because you're using their cameras and their product and their branding and it's IMAX.
Yeah. Well, like they apparently had like a, chief quality officer who saw post-production on the films. And that's like the IMAX company doing that. It'd be like Sony. Well, Sony might be a weird example since they actually do have like a film studio. But it's like any of these other camera companies being like directly involved.
But I think that they are, right? If you're shooting a $400 million film, I mean, the F1 movie, Sony made cameras for the cars.
Yeah. So, I mean, they clearly are like, working right there.
Yeah. Like these camera companies are doing this. And I think that like big Hollywood budget movies are working with camera vendors. Just, I mean, it's like the money doesn't matter, right? It's like, this is the kind of thing, provide me an imaging solution that I can shoot this. And I don't know. I wonder how much of the IMAX thing is more of like the product they sell is like, quote unquote, the best image, whether it is or isn't. And it's less of like the fact that 15 perf 70 millimeter film is the pinnacle of like film, move motion picture. Or is it that it's just the IMAX brand?
Now, does IMAX own the theaters? Like, do they own this whole end-to-end thing?
That I don't know. I assume that they have some certification process where if you're going to, I mean, you have to go to an IMAX theater that is like, and it's got the IMAX branding.
Because there's IMAX theaters and then there's 70 millimeter, which is not even all IMAX theaters, right?
Correct. Yeah. Totally different.
Yeah. And it's just, that feels unusual too. You don't go to like the Sony theater or the Airy theater, know? And so they really do have kind of an interesting like end-to-end brand.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super interesting. And I don't know, like, I get it. I love it. It's all cool. But also I don't necessarily think I see it. And maybe that's just because I'm a filthy casual.
I really think a lot of it's the theater. I think that, your average person is like, oh, this was shot in IMAX. That means I can go to that really cool theater with the big screen and it's going to be like super immersive and like that's going to be a cool experience. And I feel like that does draw people in to see a movie. It makes them more likely to go see it. And so, it's like that. I think that is one of the draws for some of these studios to make IMAX movies.
Yeah. I mean, ask me if I'm going to drive to San Antonio to go see the Odyssey in IMAX. Go ahead and ask me.
Of course you are, because you like Christopher Nolan.
That's right.
Yeah,
of course I am.
I don't know if it's because it's an IMAX. But.
No, probably not the IMAX thing. But
yeah,
you know I'm going to be there.
Doesn't surprise me.
I don't know. I guess it's cool. I find it interesting. I find I feel like I'm like seeing through the veil a little bit on this whole IMAX situation.
It is kind of funny that it's like it's presented as like this mythical, image quality thing. And really, I do think a lot of it is marketing.
Feels like the case for a lot of this stuff, Daniel.
Yeah, but the new camera is legitimately really cool.
It's very,
like a
very
massive
cool.
update.
Very, very cool. So
I wonder how long they've been working on that.
Who knows?
Wouldn't that be interesting to have the job of designing a camera where you're like, there are only ever going to be 12 of these?
I mean, you could do that now.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be worth anything, but there'd be 12 of them.
I guess to take this all the way back to our pre-show, it's kind of like F1. where like when they design cars, like they're, it's not like there's
they're
There's
prototypes.
not going to be a million of them around, it's kind of the same thing with this. So it's just an interesting, like, it's an interesting side of engineering, like making this like super complicated, like technically very impressive thing that there's only ever going to be a few of.
Yeah. It's very interesting for sure.
Cool. Wow. We've had a full show already, and we have a really big topic coming up too.
Daniel, we can plow through it.
You think so?
Take the break, and we're just gonna do it.
Okay.
YOLO.
If you'd like to support the Camera Gear podcast, you can subscribe to us on Patreon. It's only $3 a month, and you'll get early access to episodes, longer pre-shows, and occasional bonus content like written reviews of gear or maybe some photos we've taken on one of our recent adventures. This really does help us pay the bills and keeps this show running, and we'd love to have your support. You can find out more at patreon.com/cameragearpodcast, or there's also a link in the description for this episode. Thanks for listening, and now back to the show.
All right, Daniel. This topic came about because, as mentioned previously, I'm trying to do a deep dive on, like, how come Canon can make this stinking R6 Mark III sensor that's not backside illuminated, it's not stacked, and it's faster than the Sony partially stacked sensor that's in the A7 V at the same resolution.
We talked about that, and it's like a mystery of like what secret sauce is Canon doing?
Like, what witchcraft are they doing over there? I want to know. I want to see if I can find the stinking details. Like go read a patent or something. And so like I've been doing a little bit of digging, and it's confusing because
you were reading research papers pretty deep.
I have found some research papers to read, and man, like one of the problems here is that like I started with ChatGPT because sometimes like you're like, hey, just kind of like give me some information and like give me your sources, because like whenever I was researching for it to find my retro bike, like the exact model of whatever bike, and I was doing that research project, and I like feed it a bunch of model numbers and this, that, and the other. Like I was able to find like old Sears magazines that I would have never found in a Google search.
I mean, I think that's a great way to use AI, honestly, is to say like, make me make me a lesson plan, like make me a study guide for this thing rather than like, don't just tell me the information, because then I have to figure out if you're right or not. But it's just like, just give me a list of sources and I'll go to those websites and read it.
Exactly. Right. Like I don't trust anything that's telling me, but like what it's doing, which makes it really hard to trust, is it's like, hey, like basically I read this patent and I read these patents, and based upon these summaries, here are conclusions as to why I think Canons are different than Sony's and like in these different ways. I'm like, give me those sources.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I have to go actually like literally read patents.
It's going to take a while.
Woof. So it's like, point is, this little aside here was just like one of the rabbit holes. And I'm like, this is a whole topic.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing.
Yep.
We're diving
and we'll
into
see
this.
how many more of these we get before you actually get to the final answer.
Yeah, exactly. It could just be, tech topic after tech topic, and we never actually get to the answer as far as what is Canon doing to make these sensors work.
But at the same time, this feels like peak Camera Gear podcast content. Like you're probably not going to hear some of this on other podcasts.
Well, I don't know. We'll see how deep we get.
Maybe not today, but like some of the other stuff, like if you're reading like patents and stuff,
that's the hope, Daniel. Yeah. The hope is that we get to the point where we have isolated one listener who's like, no, yeah, I get it. You guys could have gone deeper. And then we lost everyone else. That's where we want to get.
All right.
That's the goal. I don't know if we'll get there.
Yeah.
I just don't have time.
We're not going to get there today, but
I am not an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. So this is there's like, I think it's Lens Rental. This guy, John Carson, wrote this 2-part thing on Lens Rental. And then he went to the DP Review forums and he posted it. And he was like, hey, give me some feedback on this thing. And then there was like a lot of feedback. And then he updated his posts. And so there's this post on Lens Rental and this post on his blog, a different blog, and then the DP Review forums. Which, Daniel, if you go deep on DP Review forums...
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
That's a good place to be. So, what the conversation here is, when you're shooting in RAW, not JPEG, when you're shooting in RAW, how do you expose? And there is a very common consensus that you expose to the right. And I think we've talked about this before, where it's like, you're shooting a photo, you want to get as much of the highlights as you can, but don't clip. And then if you in post, you can then push it down to suppress noise. So if you expose to the right of the histogram, you can basically shoot a less noisy image by whenever you develop the RAWs.
It's interesting to think about that because people also talk about ISO invariance on sensors, and like what is the difference between shooting a picture at 100 ISO and then cranking it up to 3200 versus taking the picture at 3200 ISO, right?
Right. And so what John is postulating here is that whenever you're exposing to the right, when shooting in RAW, you should not be using the ISO dial as one of the metrics for that exposure.
Okay.
So if you're pushing your exposure up for purpose of like getting the most signal out of the image, you should be doing it with aperture and with shutter speed. And you should be choosing your ISO because of ISO invariance and a few other things that we're going to talk about based upon the dynamic range of the scene.
Okay.
Which is kind of an interesting, different way to consider it.
So there are reasons to pick a certain ISO.
Right.
Like you shouldn't always just assume I can fix it in post. It does make sense to use the shutter speed and aperture first because it's like that way physics is working in your favor rather than against you. Like you're getting more light, which is helpful until you clip.
So this kind of all comes down a bit to noise. Like that's most of the whole discussion is like why you're going to expose to right is to suppress noise.
Okay.
And so I want to talk about a lot of the different kinds of noise in digital photography.
Sounds good.
So the primary noise that you're going to get, and like the reason all this comes about is because part of that conversation with like what is Canon doing differently is how they're dealing with noise suppression before they go through the analog to digital conversion may be different.
Okay.
And a lot of that noise that you're going to get is photon noise or quantum noise.
Ooh, quantum noise.
And so the analogy here is that like if you think of each pixel as like a bucket that collects electrons, right? And you have a bunch of these buckets and you just dump an even amount of electrons in all the buckets. Like this is the exact same light exposure.
Each one gets 25 electrons.
We're going to drop 25 electrons. You don't actually get 25 electrons in each of the buckets.
Okay.
And the reason of that is because of essentially statistical probability. And I forget exactly which. It's called a Poisson distribution. Are you familiar with that, Daniel?
No.
Do you remember that from statistics? Anyways, it's this known mathematical statistical curve.
Okay.
That for some, where if you're trying to apply like an even variation of something, there's just going to be some statistical variation.
Okay.
And what that effectively results in is like you're going to have some difference in electrons between all of those different buckets.
Yeah.
And you can use like the math from Poisson distribution mathematics to like determine the amount of noise. And so like you like take the noise and you do like the root mean squared of it to like come up with like this is how much noise I have. And the like amount of noise in your image is a result of like the signal to noise ratio.
Okay.
So the concept here being that if you had like 2 electrons in all of the buckets, like if the variation is 1 electron, like that's a huge portion of it.
Yeah.
Versus,
so like, do you have 2 or do you have 3?
Yeah. Versus if they're like totally full, the variation maybe is different.
Yeah. You have like a million electrons. If the difference is still 1, it's like insignificant.
Right. So like the ratio of noise to signal is what matters, right? If your signal is more powerful than your noise, if you have more light in your image, you can kind of push out the noise.
Okay.
The other thing is because of this, like the fact that it's a statistical distribution, blah, blah, the noise is a square root in a denominator. So as your signal goes up, your noise goes up by a square root, right? It's an inverse,
okay,
quadratic, right? So by increasing your signal, the proportion of the noise in your signal noise ratio goes up substantially, right?
Okay.
But then like it tracks down whenever you go lower. So by exposing to the right, by pushing that signal up, getting more light, you can really suppress the noise.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the concept of like quantum noise. You know, it's an inverse root, whatever, and more signal better.
More signal better.
Yeah. And then your noise floor is like whenever the signal approaches that root mean squared of that distribution of whatever. So there's read noise, which is like just the base noise of the sensor. Interestingly, like, are you familiar with dithering?
The term sounds familiar, but I don't remember what it means.
Like if you have a digital signal, you can get like weird electronic buzzing if there's like no signal.
Okay.
And so you have to have some amount of like effectively white noise fed into it to create like a noise floor.
Interesting.
In order for the base signal to actually just be like cool and not horrible and not just like it's just kind of like shh.
Okay.
It's like that with audio. It's the same thing with video.
I see.
And film or photo, whatever. And so you need like 1 bit of data of dithering in a sensor, roughly like 1 bit, in order for that to like be the noise floor.
Interesting.
And so it's like that's like the base. How far down can the signal be before there isn't signal? And like this concept being like, can you overexpose an image? Can you underexpose an image? And what happens when you overexpose? And overexposing is like you are either saturating the capacitors. You've put too many electrons into the capacitors that are, because light goes into the buckets, fills up the capacitors, and the capacitors discharge to the signals, and then it goes to the ADC,
and that's why
magic.
That's why a sensor can clip, basically. Like,
right, because like the capacitor can only absorb so much. And actually, like weirdly enough, not weirdly, but you can clip in channels. And so if you're taking a picture of something that's like really, really colorful, you can clip on your red channel and not clip on your blue or your white or your green channel. And which is kind of interesting in that most cameras with histograms just show white.
Yeah, you see the one. Yeah, you see the exposure histogram, basically.
And most of the time, those histograms on your camera are based off of JPEG processing.
Really?
Because you're not like, you can't really get down to the raw signal. So your histogram that you're using to expose to the right on your camera isn't necessarily the same as the raw histogram. And you can get applications. It's also different in Lightroom, but you can get raw histogram applications on your computer and use those to like determine how different your histogram like may be comparing
like
Lightroom
kind
to
of get an idea of what the offset is.
And it's like different per camera based upon how the manufacturer thinks that they need to provide like safety for the exposure.
Sure. Okay.
But it means that you could clip in like a green channel and not know it.
Yeah. Huh.
And like until you like get into post. So you can clip based upon overloading the capacitors, or you can clip at the analog to digital converter.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you're shooting a 14-bit photo and there's more data than 14 bits, then
it's going to get cut off.
You clip, right? So there's 2 places you can clip. You don't clip on the low. You don't clip your shadows. You just fall below the noise floor. And so if you have, there's like your pixel bucket has so many electrons in it, right? Which is like this many electrons is the signal, this many photons is the noise. And the noise are the root mean square, and you divide the 2. And when your signal to noise ratio gets down to less than the noise floor, then you can't recover it out of the noise floor. And that noise floor is like really, really low. It's like 1 bit.
And I assume that's why your shadows get kind of like blocky and stuff if you try and.
I think that comes down to the digital conversion more than anything, because it's just like the bits of data that you're using to represent the number of photons or whatever. That's I think where the blockiness comes from, but it's like how much you can recover out of the noise floor comes down to just how low that is.
Yeah.
But you're not actually you're not clipping the signal. It's just kind of disappearing into the noise floor.
Okay.
So that's there's like other noise, right? There's noise from like the audio digital conversion, and there's like processing artifacts, and you can get like black point shifts from IR, and there's a lot of other kinds of noise, but like this.
The ones you mentioned are kind of like the biggest contributors.
And those are the kind of things to talk about here is like the read noise at the very bottom, and then the noise that's, coming from just, like photons, right? The quantum noise effect. So all that's like super, super interesting and kind of related to the whole topic here.
All right. So how do we take all of that and do something interesting with it?
So, ISO, right? What was this guy's name again? Sorry, I forgot. What John Carson did here is he's like, okay, so all that stuff with noise, if you want a cleaner image, you just need more light, right?
Easy.
Well, like just crank your ISO. Why don't you just crank your ISO? Just turn your ISO up, huh?
Yeah, you see the image gets brighter on the screen. Got to be better.
Well, what's happening there, all this conversation that we had about the noise floor, for a typical sensor, the noise floor doesn't change.
Okay.
If you have a dual gain sensor, there's typically like 2 floors, right?
Yeah.
There's the first gain and the second gain. And so a lot of cameras, your dual gain maybe at 320, 640, like somewhere in that middle-ish ISO, you will get this second gain jump. And what that effectively does is drops your noise floor. So at lower ISOs, you may have a higher noise floor at like maybe 2 stops. And then at your second gain, you may be like 1 stop or something, where you have a lower noise floor. So that's the bottom range of your image of like how low can you go. The top range of your image has to do with the sensitivity of the sensor. And if you turn the sensitivity all the way down, your lowest ISO, then you can shove more photons into that capacitor, right? If you think of the ISO as like a funnel, right? And you have like a bucket where you're dropping electrons in, and you just have like a funnel that is the same size as the bucket. It's like a straw or something, right?
Yeah.
That you're going to collect a certain amount.
Okay.
If you put a funnel on it where you like provide a wider opening to funnel more light into it, that's what it's like when you crank the ISO.
Interesting.
And so you are increasing the amount of like light that's getting into it, but your capacitors are still the same size. They can only hold so many electrons.
Yeah, you're still going to max it out.
And so by turning up the ISO, you're essentially reducing the top end availability of like how much, right?
Okay.
And so what happens here is that like the more you crank the ISO, you get this linear drop in like top end for your sensor.
Okay.
But that bottom end doesn't change other than whenever you drop through the ISO. And so what happens is like you have a certain dynamic range that you can get in like your first base ISO range. Say it's like on a Fuji, it's like 640. Say 640 is your drop number. So, 200 to 640, you have your highest dynamic range is at 200, and then it slowly drops till you get to 640. And then you see this drop in noise floor. And then now your dynamic range at 640 is more than it was at 400.
Yeah.
But
because you hit the second base ISO.
Right. But then as you keep going from 640, your dynamic range starts going down and down and down again. And because of ISO invariance, shooting at 640 versus shooting at 4,000, like you can go in post, as long as you didn't clip, you can go in post and just, crank that exposure back down. And because of ISO invariance, you're going to get effectively the same image when you process the raw.
But when you do that, like when you're doing it in post, that doesn't have the same effect on the dynamic range because you're not dealing with your camera sensor anymore.
And that's the kind of point that I'm trying to get at here that John was getting at in this article, in his write-up, is that if nothing clipped and you shoot at 640 versus if you shoot at like 800 versus 200, and then you just pull the exposure down in post, you're going to get the same looking image in the end, right? If you just because of ISO invariance. But because of the way that because of what's happening ahead of the audio analog to digital converter, your choice in ISO is impacting your dynamic range. And so
if you shot that same picture at 200 ISO, and then like you shoot one at 200 ISO, you shoot one at 800 ISO, and then in post you take the 800 one and drop the exposure to 200 so that the pictures, are the same exposure. The one at 200 is going to have more dynamic range because you shot it at the lower ISO.
But potentially. Yeah, potentially. And it's like a little different per camera, and there may be like this drop off, the increase in dynamic range that happens at the dual native ISO.
Yeah.
But effectively, like if you're shooting at one of the 2 base ISOs, you're going to get the most dynamic range out of your camera. And you if you're shooting in RAW and a RAW workflow, it's like there are reasons why you might use a higher ISO to like just get the image.
Yeah,
but
maybe you're using autofocus or something. It's like maybe you just need the light to do it.
But if you have a high dynamic range scene, you have to consider that use your aperture first, then use your shutter speed to get your exposure. And only then consider raising or lowering your ISO. But as long as you're above the noise floor, if you shoot it, if you like, say you're doing a concert or something, you got a dark crowd and you got bright lights on the stage, like get that, protect the highlights, but shoot that as the lowest ISO you can.
But because if the crowd's dark, you don't want to shoot it so low that the crowd goes below the noise floor.
Right. But the noise floor is surprisingly lower than you think it is.
Okay.
Because like you have to get down to, like I said, like 1 bit, right? You got to have like no light. And like, yeah, there's a point where, you got to expose a little higher, but every time you crank that ISO up a little more, your clip distance for the top end also comes down. And so now it's like, well, I'm trying to get both like the people on stage and the people in the crowd, and I'm going to do this like, I'm going to like boost the shadows in post. Well, maybe actually shoot it a little lower because you might have more ability to raise the floor up versus bringing the highlights down, because the highlights are going to clip sooner because you're losing DR.
Huh. Man, there's a lot there.
Yeah, quite a bit. So I thought this was like a really interesting discussion on like considering how like the sensors work and like what's really happening ahead of the digital conversion, and how you can consider that when you're shooting your photos. Yeah. And that doing exposure and just exposing to the right, it's not that simple. It's not as simple as like, oh, like I want to have the most, flexibility in my image. So I'm going to crank my ISO until my highlights are like right on the edge of clipping. And then I'm going to have this like great dynamic range image. Maybe not necessarily.
Yeah. Huh. So tell me this then. On Fuji's, you can actually like change. There's a dynamic range setting, right? You can like DR 100, 200, 400. What is that doing?
That's what that does is they are basically setting the bottom end of your, like if you set it to DR 400, it fixes your base ISO at ISO 640.
Yeah.
And so in a similar like concept here, there are, whenever you get below that 640 ISO, you actually have less dynamic range. And so I think it's essentially what we're looking at here is at anything less than like 640, you have this higher noise floor.
I see.
And if you go above that, you drop then the noise floor. And it's kind of like a similar where if you're shooting like HLG on a Fuji, and it's similar with other cameras too, it'll like fix your ISO at 1,000, or F-Log 2 fixes it at 1250.
You get that with almost every log profile.
Right. And it's because it's like, it's setting a certain like operating range of the sensor where they know they can get a certain dynamic range.
Yeah. So seeing that works that way kind of gives you some clues as to, the strategies when you shoot photos as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to kind of understand where those numbers are. And like, that's something that, what was it? Was it the Pixis or was it a different camera where depending upon which mode you were shooting in, maybe it was was it the C80 where it's like that base ISO changed depending upon like which mode you were in.
It sounds familiar, but I don't remember what camera that was.
And it came down to basically like the bit depth. Like which bit depth are you recording this to, like in that final output? And that was then impacting like where the base ISO was. And I bet it has everything to do with this. Yeah. Where it's like it can only absorb so much, like you can only put so many stops into a 12-bit image. You can only have 12 stops in a 12-bit image and 14 stops in a 14-bit image. Therefore, like what's the range of the sensor that is giving you that top end and bottom end, and what ISO setting is that?
Man, that is a lot more complicated than you would think.
It is a little bit, but I think it's maybe like you take your camera and like I know that like DR200 on my Fuji camera, 200 is 320 and DR 400 is 640, and I know where the, HLG and F-Log 2 are. I know that like those are distinct like ISOs on the camera for a reason. And so if I'm trying to maximize dynamic range, I know that, okay, I should just shoot at 640 and that's going to be the sweet spot that gives me the most distance between the bottom and the top end.
Yeah. I think this stuff's good to remember though, because if you've heard of ISO invariance, you kind of tend to think like, and I'm shooting a raw photo, so it doesn't matter what I shoot the ISO at.
Yeah, that's always been my take is like, ISO invariance, right? It literally doesn't matter what I shoot the ISO at. I just want to make sure that my shadows don't fall below the noise floor and I don't clip the highlights. Yeah. But what I haven't considered is that you lose dynamic range the higher you turn up that ISO.
Yeah. Even though you're shooting in RAW and you get all the data off the sensor, like it's affecting what you get from the sensor.
Yeah, exactly. All because of like how much like you fit in the capacitors and like the noise floor and the photon, all that stuff.
Yep. It's like one of your safety nets when you shoot RAW is just totally gone.
What?
Well, you think about shooting in RAW and you're like, I can just make decisions later. And there's some things you can't, like, framing and shutter speed and aperture. But turns out, got to care about ISO too.
Yeah, turns out. I mean, that's why it's just the same thing as film, man. You pick the ISO, you stick it in the camera, don't change it.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, like, there's some people who grew up in, like early digital days, and they're like, I never changed the ISO off of 100. I'm like, you crazy.
Well, they're probably just shooting outside during the day, and they can actually do that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I shoot at high ISOs quite a bit.
I do too.
I mean,
we shoot a lot of indoor dark rooms.
I'm not scared of like 8,000 or 6,400. And I'm always like, when I shoot photos, like indoor photos, I'm shooting for the JPEG basically. Like I don't want to have to do a lot of editing in post.
Yep.
But if you're trying to maximize image quality, that may not be the best choice.
Yeah.
And I thought this was like an interesting take on that is like, if you're wanting to leverage ISO invariance and you're wanting to get the most out of your sensor for like very extreme circumstances, you have to consider the ISO in a different way.
Yeah.
And it's not as simple as just exposed to the right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to think about it more because I do shoot things indoors a lot where it's like a dark crowd and a bright stage, and that's a textbook example of where you really want as much dynamic range as you can get.
For sure. So all pretty interesting. So I don't know, any more thoughts on this, Daniel? I mean, I kind of glossed over. I think there was like even more to dig into here, but
you got like a bunch of graphs and stuff.
Oh
and
yeah.
all this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I think in terms of like what people could take away from this, like it's fun to learn how it works. But if you're shooting photos, like what do I learn from it? I think you did cover that pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I guess like the last graph I have on here. So there's a what is the name of that website? It is Photons to Pixels or something. There's this website that does really good sensor graphs.
Okay.
And you can like look them up for whatever, any camera. And I'm trying to find the name of that website here. I wrote it down and I've since forgotten it. So anyways, we'll find it later and then forget to put it in the show notes. So like you can look up, and like, people post them on Petapixel and TPRV and whatever all the time. But it's these like dynamic range graphs where it shows like a sloping line of dynamic range from like one ISO to another. And so like you can look up your camera on this website, like find the chart for your camera, and you can see the dynamic range slope, from maximum to minimum down. And
that's
then
really interesting.
Where it gets to the base ISO, it does this like jog up and then goes back down. And the reason for that is exactly what we're talking about here. It's that jump in dual gain and like the slope of like as you increase the ISO, your dynamic range goes down. And so you can kind of see like how much DR you have for your camera based upon the graph.
Yeah. That is really interesting.
Photons to Photos is the website. And it is this absolutely incredible website that's run by William Claff. And it's like 1996 style HTML, but the sensor information graphs that they have is all like really, really good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I mean, apparently it's up to date too, because like you have the S1R Mark II on this.
Yeah. Yeah. I have an interesting graph here that shows the Sony A7 IV and the Canon R6 Mark III and the Panasonic S1R Mark II. And what you can see here is that the jump that the Sony A7 V has a dynamic range jump at about like ISO maybe 200 is where it jogs back up.
But not by much.
Not by much. And then it's effectively a straight line. And so that lower range on the A7 V with that sensor, you can get more dynamic range in like your sub 500 ISO by like 2 stops comparatively to the R6 Mark III.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Whereas
Sony's real good at that low light.
Yeah, but then like, low ISO sensitivity. Once you get to like, ISO 640, all these cameras are basically the same.
Yeah.
So it
looks like which one is that? The S1R Mark II gets a little bit of a bump at
different base ISO.
Yeah, different base ISO.
Yeah, so it looks like the dual gain ISO on the EOS R Mark III is, 3.
The R6 Mark III.
R6 Mark III is like 2 or 3 stops higher up in the ISO range comparatively to the A7 V. But it's like if you're looking for dynamic range in photo, the A7 V on the lower end gets more dynamic range. And it's kind of interesting that,
Yeah.
you know, how that works for those sensors.
Good information to have if you shoot with one of these cameras.
It sure is. But like, it seems like all cameras are equal after like ISO 1000.
Mm-hmm.
But based upon this information, no one should be shooting an ISO 1000.
Yeah. Now I assume all this stuff applies to video as well.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's maybe a little different for video because unless you're shooting raw video, you are baking in your final look.
That's
and
true.
So it has more to do with, you know, the recoverability digitally and what's happening as far as like the bit depth of the image. And so
valid point.
Getting a more even exposed image in video matters more than because like the developing's happening in camera versus shooting photos in raw. The developing's happening
true
on your software.
Yeah. You think we'll get to the point where shooting raw video is sort of the way shooting raw photo is now? Because it seems like if storage space was cheap enough and processing power was strong enough, it'd be like, why not always shoot in raw?
Yeah, I mean,
so that's kind of how it is with photos.
That's basically where we're trying to get to, right? I mean, that's the whole point of like raw coming into video. But you know,
with take a while.
The cost of storage thanks to AI, it seems like maybe we've taken one giant leap backwards in how big files can be.
That is true.
Anyways, that's it. That's my tech topic, Daniel.
Yeah, man, that's it's pretty deep, but I think there's some good stuff to take away from it. Though.
Hopefully, that's changed how everybody shoots.
Every single person.
Yeah. They're like, I'm
never going to be the same.
They're gonna pull out their camera, take a picture, and then it's just gonna be like total brain freeze, and then they're going to be immobilized by choice because they won't know what to set their ISO dial to.
Oh my gosh, yep. They're gonna have to go back and listen to this podcast while they're like in the field shooting to remember what to set it to.
It's okay. They can download it and they can just listen to it.
That's it for the show today. Thanks for joining us, and if you liked it, tell a friend so they can check it out too. You can find out more about the show at www.cameragearpodcast.com, and you can find us on Twitter @CameraGearPod. We'll be back with more next week.